Hello, I'm super happy to see you here. If you're visiting for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video. It really helps out. Also, let me know in the comments which city or country you're watching from. I read them all. Let's begin. It all started when Alyssa and I finally decided to chase the vision we had shared for years, finding our dream home. Erin, if we don't do this now, we never will, she said one evening as we curled up on the couch. We've been talking about this forever, haven't we? She was right. We'd spent years saving, preparing to leave behind our modest but cozy townhouse. What I hadn't anticipated was how quickly she sprang into action. Within a matter of days, she had already enlisted a realtor, Derek Randall, a name that, before long, would make my stomach turn. He's got stellar ratings, she said with a gleam in her eye, scrolling through his profile on her tablet. Just look at these reviews. He deals almost exclusively with luxury properties. I didn't think twice about it at the time. Alyssa had always been thorough when it came to important decisions. And Derek, with his tailored suits and polished demeanor, looked like someone who understood the high-end market better than anyone. The first few weeks felt normal. At least, that's what I believed. Derek took us from one listing to the next, always flashing a rehearsed grin and carrying a binder packed with brochures. "This place has a view you won't forget," he'd say with a sweeping gesture toward expansive windows, while Alyssa stood beside him, her eyes lit with excitement. But I started noticing how their conversations would wander beyond the properties. They began with floor plans and square footage, but somehow always ended in casual banter and laughter. I brushed it off, telling myself that was just part of his charm, exactly what made him a good agent. Then, one night, Alyssa came home much later than usual. She had been out seeing a property. I was half dozing on the couch when I heard the door open. She walked in barefoot, holding her shoes in one hand and a folder in the other. "Out late?" I asked groggily, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. "Yeah," she said, barely making eye contact. "Derek and I were going over the details for that Kensington place. It's a great opportunity. We need to move fast." There was something slightly off in her voice, but I ignored it. We were house hunting after all. Of course she'd be invested. The late nights became frequent. More appointments, more sudden showings, more calls that stretched long into the evening. I didn't raise any concerns at first. The housing market was competitive, and Alyssa had always been all in with whatever she pursued. Still, subtle red flags began to tug at me. I dismissed them at first, like how she was constantly on her phone. Whether we were watching something, eating dinner, or lying in bed, her screen was always lit up. And she wasn't just scrolling aimlessly. She was texting, her fingers moving fast, her expression focused. Sometimes she'd smile to herself. Other times, she'd laugh quietly. "What's funny?" I asked one night, unable to hold back my curiosity. She glanced up, almost surprised to find me there. "Oh, nothing," she said with a quick shrug. "Derek keeps sending me ideas. Some of them are just over the top." I nodded, but her answer felt too smooth, like something rehearsed. Once again, Derek. His name was becoming a constant presence. And that smile she gave her phone didn't seem like one reserved for architecture. Then came the night that changed everything. Alyssa returned late once more, supposedly after viewing another home with Derek. I was sitting in front of the TV when she walked in, her purse slung over her shoulder and weariness etched into her face. "You're still awake?" she asked, offering a tired smile while slipping out of her heels. "Couldn't sleep," I replied, watching as she headed toward the kitchen. As she passed by, a faint scent lingered in the air, familiar, but not mine. It was cologne. "Trying out a new perfume?" I asked lightly, trying not to sound suspicious. She paused ever so briefly. Then she let out a small laugh. "What? Oh, no. Must have been from the house. You know how they like to stage them with fancy smells." I nodded, but the knot in my stomach tightened. Something about her answer didn't sit right. After that night, I began paying closer attention. Patterns began to emerge. Her phone habits became more obsessive. Her meetings with Derek stretched longer. Her laughter while texting turned into a regular soundtrack. Then came that fateful Saturday. Alyssa was upstairs getting ready to check out some properties, supposedly by herself. I was at the dining table sorting bills when her phone lit up on the kitchen counter. Normally, I would have ignored it, but this time, something held me still. The name that flashed across the screen hit me like a blow. Derek Randall. My hand hesitated above the phone. I knew I shouldn't look. I told myself to respect her privacy, but something deeper told me I had to know. My fingers shook as I picked up the phone and opened the message. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about it. Can't wait to be with you again tonight. The room spun. My heart pounded in my chest. She had told me she'd been out looking at houses. And Derek, what could possibly be so urgent that he had to text that? I set the phone down carefully, afraid it might shatter if I dropped it. My entire world shifted. Every strange moment from the past few weeks came crashing together. The late returns, the private smiles, the vague explanations, the unfamiliar cologne. It all clicked into place. Alyssa wasn't just committed to the house hunt. She wasn't just staying out late to negotiate deals. She was cheating on me. And the man she was sneaking off with? The charming, smooth-talking realtor, Derek Randall. I leaned against the counter, my heart racing, my mind replaying every missed clue. The skipped dinners, the dodged questions, the ease with which she lied, that lingering scent in our home, like a ghost. How could I have been so blind? I stood frozen in place, the phone still aglow on the counter beside me. That message burned itself into my mind, echoing again and again. I didn't move. I couldn't. The weight of betrayal held me there like a chain. Eventually, I heard the unmistakable rhythm of her footsteps echoing down the staircase. "Hey, Aaron," she said brightly, her voice light, oblivious to the storm brewing behind my composed exterior. "Heading out now. Don't wait up, okay?" I mustered a hollow grin, burying the fury and despair threatening to surface. "All right, Alyssa. Let me know if you stumble on anything exciting." As the door latched shut, my fingers clenched into fists. I didn't yet know how I'd respond, but I knew I wouldn't let this pass without consequence. Driven by instinct, I grabbed my keys and followed her out. My chest throbbed with the force of my heartbeat, and my mind spun with the cruel truth I had unearthed. For months, I'd sensed the fracture widening between us. Now, the brutal clarity of reality could no longer be ignored. I needed proof, something I could see for myself. I kept my distance, far enough not to raise suspicion, but close enough to follow unnoticed. My pace was measured, never fast enough to catch her eye in the rear view. Eventually, she turned onto a street lined with extravagant houses, the type we used to fantasize about, but never came close to affording. She pulled into the driveway of a property I didn't recognize. It looked empty, maybe up for sale. I stopped several homes away, my pulse racing. From my vantage point, I saw her step out of the car. She adjusted her dress, checked her phone, and stood waiting. Moments later, he arrived, Derek Randall. That same calculated grin he used when showing us homes now aimed straight at her. They exchanged a few words, and then, as if I weren't even part of her world, they kissed. It wasn't brief. It was deliberate, slow, and shameless. My stomach twisted, the ground beneath me seeming to sway. With hands trembling, I raised my phone and snapped photo after photo of the sickening scene. They were too wrapped up in each other to notice. Side by side, they made their way to the front door. I crouched behind a nearby car, breath caught in my throat. Once they disappeared inside, I moved. Sticking to the shadows, I crept forward, every step feeling like a trespass against something once sacred. But I had to know. I couldn't look away now. Circling to the side of the house, I found a glass door offering a clear view into the living area. What I saw rooted me to the spot. Alyssa and Derek stood locked in an embrace, hands roving with familiarity. He was already unfastening her blouse, his lips pressing against her skin as she guided him toward the couch. There was no hesitation, no concern for being seen. Only hunger. Hidden in the darkness, I stood still, breath shallow, fury coiling inside me. But deeper than the anger was something heavier, an unbearable sorrow. This was the woman I had once promised forever to, the woman I believed in. And now she was giving herself away like it meant nothing. I reached for my phone again and began to record. I didn't yet know what I'd do with the footage, but I needed to have it. Their bodies tangled, clothes falling around them, completely unaware they were being watched. My hands shook, barely able to hold the camera steady, but I kept filming, capturing every devastating second of their betrayal. What I witnessed in those moments shattered something inside me. Every hope, every shared plan for our future, reduced to ash. I turned and slipped away without making a sound. The drive home passed in a blur, my thoughts numbed by what I had seen. But one thing had changed. I now had proof, and I would not act out of impulse. This would be calculated. The divorce was inevitable, but I would decide how it unfolded. The next morning, I sat across from an attorney, laying out every detail and showing them what I had recorded. They explained my options, how to secure my finances, how to leverage the evidence, how to ensure Alyssa walked away with nothing she didn't earn. For the first time in months, a sense of clarity returned. I became cold, deliberate. I said nothing to Alyssa. She continued playing her role, unaware the foundation beneath her was crumbling. I navigated each day with practiced calm, methodical and unshaken, biding my time. Derek wouldn't escape this either. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Derek had an upcoming open house, an extravagant estate in the center of the city, a major listing, the kind that drew deep-pocketed buyers, influencers, even local media. It was the perfect setting. I arrived unannounced, Alyssa moving quietly at my side. Confusion clouded her features, her eyes darting between me and the opulence around us. But I had waited long enough for this moment. Across the room stood Derek, confident, polished, fully in his element, until he saw us enter. "Aaron," he greeted, his smile flickering ever so briefly. "What brings you here?" I returned his uneasy grin with one of my own. "Just thought I'd see what all the fuss was about," I said evenly. "And maybe catch up while I'm at it." A trace of unease crossed his face, quickly buried beneath a practiced calm. "Sure thing. Why don't we talk outside?" I raised my voice just enough for the crowd to hear. "No need. Right here works just fine." The hum of conversation faltered. Voices dipped. Dozens of eyes turned in our direction. I could feel the shift as the room's focus landed squarely on me, curiosity beginning to swell. The tension was thick, but I felt detached, calm. I cleared my throat, steadying my voice against the adrenaline coursing through me. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, casting a deliberate glance around the room, "I want to offer a sincere thank you to Derek Randall, not only for his impressive track record in real estate, but for his exceptional dedication beyond the call of duty." A ripple of surprise passed through the guests. Derek's face turned a furious shade of red. "You see," I continued, "Derek has an extraordinary way of ensuring client satisfaction." Alyssa, still behind me, suddenly stiffened. Her face went pale as the meaning struck her all at once, shock and recognition dawning in the same breath. "Aaron, don't," she whispered, a tremble in her voice. But I didn't so much as glance her way. "No, Alyssa," I said, letting the words drip with cold irony. "These lovely people deserve to know how committed Derek really is. So committed, in fact, that he decided to personally show my wife a very intimate kind of hospitality while they were house hunting." Gasps erupted. A buzz of whispers surged through the crowd. Someone in the back raised their phone and began recording. Alyssa froze, her expression crumbling in disbelief. Her lips parted, struggling to form a response, but the damage had already taken root. There was no undoing this. "Please," she murmured, stepping toward me, her voice fragile. "It was a mistake. I never wanted this. It just—" "You didn't think," I cut in sharply. "That's it, isn't it? You didn't think about me, or the years we shared, or the trust I placed in you. You only thought about what you wanted, right then, right there." Shame washed over her face, but it was far too late. I couldn't erase what I'd seen. I couldn't forget the images, her laughter with him, the affection, the betrayal she so freely gave in exchange for a moment's excitement. "It's over, Alyssa," I said coldly. "The papers have been filed. We're finished." Derek stood like a statue now, ashen, eyes wide, as though the very ground had vanished beneath him. The silence in the room was crushing. No one moved. No one dared speak. But I was finished. With her. With him. What followed was quick and final. Alyssa pleaded, begged for another chance, but it was meaningless. She had shattered something that could never be pieced together again. The divorce was clean. No arguments, no settlements. I walked away with everything we had built, because she had walked away from me long before. But I wasn't done with Derek. I had come armed, with irrefutable evidence, photos, texts, videos. I filed a lawsuit, citing emotional distress and professional misconduct. The fallout was swift. His reputation disintegrated. His brokerage dropped him immediately. Within weeks, his real estate license was revoked. Alyssa packed her things and left, still clinging to the delusion that forgiveness might come, still hoping something could be salvaged. But there was nothing left. The love, the trust, the future. It was all gone. In the aftermath, I found something I hadn't expected. Clarity, a sense of resolution. The betrayal had marked me, but it also forced me to reclaim the strength I'd forgotten I had. And that's exactly what I did. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.